And it turns out in this talent trap that merit and skill, how good you are at what you do, is a third or less of the factor.
Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer here at the Center for Victory. With me today is a repeat guest and friend of Center for Victory, Joelle Kaufman. Welcome back. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming back.
So great to be here. Makes it one of my best days.
Yes, thank you very much. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Joelle actually, and hopefully she'll offer it again. But there's some things that you can follow up with her on it as well. But we'll get into that. You've definitely, if you want to go back and check out that podcast that we did, I want to say about 4 months ago, probably
Mm-hmm.
back sometime in December.
Mm-hmm.
But you are the CEO and founder of GTM Flow, right? But
Yep.
your story was very impressive then. But today, what I'd like to talk about is, I guess, crushing the career curveball, right? Because you've had a lot of curveballs thrown your way, and I think that's what
Of course.
makes you who you are. But why don't we start there? Like since we've last talked, what's new? What are you doing? What's kind of top of your mind? What are you talking to people about?
Yeah. So, first thing that's new, I actually got news this morning that the book, which we're not going to spend a lot of time on today, but Crushing the Cancer Curveball, was selected to be included in the MD Anderson Cancer Library. So,
Oh,
people who go to one of the best facilities in the world can have the opportunity to discover the playbook, and hopefully, it'll help more people at the moment where they need it. So,
oh, that's
very
wonderful.
yeah, and thank you to MD Anderson for including it.
Yeah, very good, very
The
good, very good.
yeah, so what I find I'm talking about today and this week, last week, and really over the last couple of months, besides the book, is a recurring theme, which I call trapped by talent. And
Okay.
the theme looks like this. Most of the people I talk to are very accomplished. They're very high performers. And remind me, Eric, I do want to go back to people just starting out in their careers,
Mhm.
but let's start with these more seasoned, talking about 15 to 20 years of experience. And they want to continue contributing, they want to continue succeeding, and they're taking on more and more responsibility. And the theme is they're trying to use what got them where they are, their ability to succeed. They're trying to use what got them to where they are today to get them ahead at an executive or board level. And what got them where they are is success, their talent, their merit. Look at what I can do. Where they end up is they're burned out, they're grinding, and they are befuddled because people are getting opportunities, taking on jobs, being advanced ahead of them who
Mhm.
appear to have accomplished less.
Yeah.
And that's a talent trap. And I've actually been studying that trap for about 30 years. And the research goes back another 30 years because I did my thesis in college on the factors that drive promotion.
Mhm.
And it turns out in this talent trap that merit and skill, how good you are at what you do, is a third or less of the factor. And that kind of goes against everything you think because in school, right? Like
Yes.
my grades are my grades and all of us go through a school process and then we're told, well, you live in a meritocracy. It's a meritocracy. If you do well, you get ahead. And that's not totally wrong. I mean, you can't be inept,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really not right either because it's not sufficient. And you don't have to be spectacular. You have to be good enough, but you don't have to be spectacular. And the 80-20 rule between good enough and spectacular consumes all the time that you actually need to be doing something else. And that something else is about building the relationships with people at your peer level, with people at the level you want to join, and with people who are champions that can elevate you.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that is work that takes time, and it cannot be done inauthentically. It cannot be done just to serve your ambition. So I'm finding I'm talking about that a lot. And how do we use the energy and ambition and passion we have for the impact we want to make in the professional world and optimize that by balancing what I call the triangle: merit and skill, comfort and trust, and strong champions.
So talk about the strong champions, because that
Sure.
kind of really resonated with me as soon as you said it, because I agree with where you're going on this.
And I'm glad you do. I think that I think we want to argue that it's just a meritocracy, but we kind of know in our kishkas, in our core, it's not. And that's not a knock. That's actually not a bad thing. So I'm going to talk about strong champions in the context of at an executive leadership level, the job is aligning and influencing people. It's not doing the stuff because it's your teams and other people that are doing the stuff. And if what you're focused on is how well you can do the stuff, then you're not aligning and influencing people. You're also not
Yeah.
giving your own staff, your own team, a chance to shine. I know that hits you too. Let me answer your
Yeah.
question on strong champions.
No, that's, I mean,
To
I think people need to hear what you just said again.
So let's say it again.
Yeah.
At an executive leadership level of anything, this could be of a club, this could be of your work, this could be of a nonprofit, this could be of, it doesn't matter. When you are in the leadership role, the job is alignment and influence. And if you're in a position hiring, that's the job. It's not doing the stuff. By influencing and aligning, you enable other people to do the stuff that they need to do for everyone to succeed. But if you dive down and you do the stuff, you're not doing the influencing and aligning. And therefore, the odds are the organization is not aligned. People are not working in tandem, and you've created friction,
Mm-hmm.
conflict, and inefficiency. So, why do you need a strong champion in comfort and trust? Well, first off, because the job requires it. The senior leadership job requires those things. It's not just the advancement. What's a champion? A champion is somebody who's probably 1 to 2 levels seniority. That could be a board member. If you're talking nonprofit, it could be a major donor. But it could be a senior executive if you're a mid-level executive. Like, think 1 to 2 levels above. And the key thing about a champion is they have influence over the decision of what happens to you next. They may not be the decider, but they have influence because very few hiring decisions or promotion decisions are made unilaterally by a singular person. I actually am hard pressed to come up with any. So if no decision like that is made by a singular person, who in the room you are not in is saying, Eric's the guy for this. Here's why Eric's the guy. I got a really strong feeling about, sorry, I don't mean to be making it a double entendre with your
Yeah.
name. I really think Eric is the one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a risky move for the champion because
Right.
everyone's going to remember that Joelle advocated for Eric. So if Eric is a complete turd, they say, what's wrong with Joelle's judgment?
Yeah. Right.
Right. And this is even harder, Eric, if you are not um, part of the majority group in that leadership. So if you are joining a group where everybody tends to be in their 50s and you're in your 30s, if you're joining a group where everyone is male or everyone is white or whatever it is, if you're a anomaly, the risk of that mistake is doublefold, right? Of being the champion of an anomaly. I still think you should do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should be advancing diversity for diverse ways of thinking as much as we possibly can because it helps us. But as a person with ambition, how much time are you spending cultivating relationships with potential champions? Any?
Right.
And most people look at me and get very bashful. And they say, well, I'm not. I said, well, then you're not going to come up when the moment is who should we be considering for this project, this opportunity? They don't know you. And you have to get to know them, which doesn't start with saying, hey, Eric, I'm Joelle and I am fabulous. Here's why you should champion me because I am just the cat's meow. I am awesome. Like boring, wrong. No, it starts with Eric, I'm really interested in your perspective on something going on with the business or a decision we're making. And Eric, I would love your advice on how I should approach XYZ. And would you mind if I reached out to you every 3 or 4 weeks? Maybe we have a cup of coffee. I'd love your advice. And you have to mean it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to want their advice,
Yeah.
their wisdom. And what you're doing is you're learning, you're developing, and they're learning about you by the nature of the questions you ask and the advice you take. All of which, again, if the job at the senior leadership level is to influence and align, are good signals that you are able to influence and align and you are willing to be influenced and aligned. Both
Yeah.
are important.
Yeah, I think you said it before. This cannot be done inauthentically. I think that's when people look for advice, they might hear that advice, but I want to reiterate what you said earlier. Like this is not something that you do inauthentically. If this isn't authentic to you, people are going to sniff that out real quick and you're not going to have a champion.
Well, and if you do it because, oh wow, there's a big opportunity. I need to go cultivate a champion right now.
Right.
That's inauthentic. It smells, and
Yep.
any of us can tell, right? So instead, this needs to be just part of your work, which you need to make time for, which comes at the expense of doing the stuff. Because time, other than, generative AI is amazing, but we really haven't figured out how to duplicate time.
Right. Going back to you told me to remind you about like people starting in their careers. If we
Yeah,
were people starting in their careers, if they were like, what advice would you give them? Because I think they might be feeling that they don't know anybody that would be able to do that for them. Or what advice would you
that's right.
give to find a champion for them?
Yeah, and Eric, I have three young adult children, and so two are actively. One is in the job force, another is starting his first internship this summer. So um, they are legitimately facing something very hard, something that you and I did not, which is, the first jobs generative AI is actually destroying are entry level jobs for people coming out of college, whether that is in sales, in marketing, in customer success, or in programming. And so, the answer is there are fewer jobs for them. I'm very deeply concerned about that. They are deeply concerned about that. So I think the first thing to recognize is to say, okay, this is actually hard. It means cultivating champions is more important than ever. So, how do you do that? Well, you said you don't know people. You went to a school. That could be a high school, that could be a trade school, that could be a college. There are other people who went to the school that do something. Start there. Start by asking them about what they're doing, ask them informational interview. If they happen to work at a company you're working at, double down,
Mm-hmm.
cultivate that, and ask them who they think would be a good person for you to help develop yourself, develop your career, and be more valuable to the company. And if they'd make an introduction. So if you set a target of, I want to have 3 conversations a week, and I want every conversation to lead to 3 other conversations, right? Within a month, you don't have time for anything else. So naturally, you're not going to do quite that exponential a thing. But if you do 3 a week and you keep track, either use a customer CRM, use a spreadsheet, I don't care what you use, keep track, send a thank you note every time. and cultivate, follow up with people, thank them, check in with them again. And what you're basically saying is, hey, Eric, you're interesting. You're further down the line than me. I'd like to learn something from you. Most people say, cool, I'd love to teach something. And if you're just starting out in your career, you don't need to do that with the CEO. I mean, you can, but you probably won't get a great response. They're probably working on a bunch of different things, but you can punch one, two, three levels above your own.
Good morning. I hope you are enjoying this episode of Center for Victory podcast. My name is Caleb Cole, and I'm inviting you on our adventures. Check out the Center for Victory website under the Experiences tab and join us on some of the most epic adventures in the U.S. Let's go!
Yeah, I was actually, it's funny that you're mentioning this today because I was just at coffee this morning with a longtime friend of mine who, he does a lot of mentorship. That's just kind of in his wheelhouse. He's always done that. But he did mention to me this morning, it came straight out of his mouth. He's meeting with somebody and he's like, what I tell people is like, I'm not going to further this relationship. You have to put in the work. If you want to get in touch with me, then you have to make the call. You have to send the email. Like, I'm not going to put the effort in. I'll meet with you
That's right.
whenever, but I'm not going to do the work. You have to do the work. And I thought, and he stuck to that, but it was just funny that it came up this morning and now
This
you're
morning.
saying it again. But
Absolutely. And you should do the work because, again, the work as you ascend in your career is influence and alignment. You don't do influence and alignment because the person who needs to be influenced or aligned comes to you. You go to them. And look, this can be hard if you're more introverted. It can feel awkward. I wouldn't be pushy. Again, it's an invitation, it's a request made in such a way that the other person can decline without it being a rejection. It could be as simple as, I mean, if someone had made a request to me on January 10th for mentors and I was diagnosed on January 9th, the answer is going to be, it's really not a good time.
right.
That's not about them. Now, if I had my wits about me, and I don't remember if I did, I might say, reach out to me in like 6 months and it'll be fine. But it's okay to say, hey, if it's not a good time, I understand. I'll reach out to you in 3 or 4 months and then do it.
Yeah, I wish I would have had that advice over and over again, especially as somebody young. I get it now, right?
Mhm.
Because I get it because I'm doing the same thing. Like if somebody reaches out to me, I'm like, wow, that wasn't like, you know, that wasn't like, and they're always shocked, right? They're like, oh, you would take a few minutes for me. I'm like, absolutely. But I wish somebody, if somebody's listening to this, and we do have a lot of younger listeners, and I just hope they take that into account and go, yeah, I'm going to reach out to somebody, um, and just ask. There's no harm in that. And we talk about, you know, crushing the career curveball.
Mhm.
Having a strong champion like that is one of the best ways to go about that. I mean, I have a mentor. I mean, he's 31 years older than me. He's still going at it. He's still mentoring people. He's still coaching people. But I literally can call him at any time, and if he's not near the phone, he calls me right back. Still to this day,
It's beautiful.
and I can't like when people ask me about him, I try to put it in words. And I'm like, there's just not words there because it was the little things. It was when I was struggling with this, or when I had some head trash going on, or it was a cup of coffee. It wasn't these big, profound things. But he's put me time and time and time again, either in the right relationship, right? He's said to somebody, or he's called me, or he's emailed me and said, Eric, you have to meet them. And he won't tell me why.
Mhm.
Because I think sometimes he just doesn't know, but he has the wisdom enough to say, look, this is somebody that you need to meet. They need to meet you. And it's been fantastic. But again, I'm going back to young people. I mean, we both have, young
Mhm.
adult kids. I can't stress that enough. Like, get in front of somebody. Uh, and it's amazing. Yeah, because my kids have taken that advice.
So
Right.
have mine. So have mine. And
And
it's
I
not just
see
one
their
somebody.
career. Yeah.
It's
Right.
not just one somebody. Like it
That's
is
correct.
fantastic that you have a relationship with this person that has persevered. And I'm sure that you've both invested in it over time. In the beginning, at the start of your career, you don't know who that's going to be.
Right.
So you want to cultivate a number of relationships. And something I do in my course on elevating your impact, your leadership impact, is I talk about how do you create a game plan for how you're going to interact with potential champions, how you're going to cultivate them. And again, authentic, focused on their needs more than yours. But I lay out you should have 3 or 4 targets at any given time because people make changes, things happen. You want to have more than one and just nurture it and develop it. And if it's in your company, definitely have more than one because people leave companies. And if it's in your life, have more than one because you're interesting and it's probably good to have more than one person who's on the lookout for you. So, the other thing we need to talk about is the third leg of the triangle. So, what do I mean by comfort and trust? The simplest way to think about this is does the team you want to join get excited about you showing up and being part of their team? And you know, because you've been around, I've been around, you know when they're not. Right? It's oh boy, this person's going to come in and we're going to have to listen to a 10-minute diatribe, or this person's always negative, or this person after the meeting creates all kinds of drama about what happened in the like we know the stories.
Yeah.
None of them lead to you getting new opportunities, right? So that doesn't mean you shouldn't be articulate, have a point of view, or even talk offline with people about to clarify what happened. It's Are you doing it from a place of contribution and elevation, or are you doing it from a place of stress and drama? And that level of self-awareness can be hard to figure out. But you need to know, like, the people on that team, I need to get to know them, but not for them to champion me, for them to be comfortable with me. So I'll tell a story of a client. He's an extraordinarily good sales leader. And he said to me, I don't understand why I keep getting passed over for the next job. And I asked him, how do you think people at that next level up and above, how do they experience you? He said, well, I know they think my work is good. Merit skill check.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think he's right. Said, but I think they'd say I'm pretty intense. Like I make them uncomfortable. Oh, comfort, trust, negative. And I don't really think I haven't spent the time for one of them to really be, or more of them to be championing me. I mean, I know a couple of them do, but it's kind of more accidental. I went, check. I said, okay, so if we're doing 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, you just failed on 2/3. And they're in your control. So we created some objectives for him about how he wants to show up in those meetings, how he needs to catch his own stress and his need to give a lot of details and defend his point of view, recognize that that's just his stress and anxiety. He needs to recharge his battery. We talk about ways he can do that in the moment and before preloading. We talk about curveballs and the approach to curveballs. The secret is practice seeing the curveball. So when you see it, you don't get that stress response. You're just like, oh, I know you. I got it. So by focusing on how he shows up and how other people are reacting to him, he's transforming his relationships and increasing his ability to succeed, not just get advanced. But now, because he isn't intimidating them or burying them in data, he's getting their help. And that makes the whole company more successful. So I really want to emphasize this, probably the third time I've said it. The reason these things are important is because they are critical to success in the job,
Right.
not because they are games you play to get ahead.
Correct. before I forget, do you still have the resource for our
I
listeners?
do. This is actually a question of we can provide the tactical to strategic resource again, absolutely no problem. But I'm also now doing a free webinar on this trapped by talent. And
Okay.
so what we can do is put a sign up for that in the show notes. I just want to time it to when you are actually going to release the podcast. And
Gotcha.
hopefully we can edit that part out. But um, you tell me the date and then we'll align it to a Trap by Talent webinar where people can learn more about the magic triangle and how they can take action right now to make themselves more successful, less stressed, way happier by investing in champions and comfort and trust.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Working, getting that done. Um, that was good stuff. I love the triangle piece. Love that we might have another follow up, that which would be fantastic. Any last words for our audience of uh, really anything, but any last words of advice?
Sure. I think understanding that, and this is for the young and the more seasoned executives, careers are long and they make a lot of changes. And the idea that you are in a continuous process of reinvention and those champions are actually part of your reinvention process. They will help you see things that you may be blind to because you're deep in the activity of the day. It's really helpful to embrace those curveballs and work with those champions because reinvention is energizing.
Yes.
And instead of being, you know, my son, who's a college athlete, got hurt early in the season and we were all devastated. It's pretty much a season ending injury.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said, okay, where's the reinvention? And it's unlocking some possibilities for him that were impossible if he hadn't gotten hurt. And that is kind of what happens in the world is something happens. I got cancer. And then through reinvention, other possibilities emerge. And so all this fear we have about something not working out, and I have it too, it's kind of futile energy. Of course, some things aren't going to work out because reinvention depends on something ending for something to begin.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. As always, Joelle, thank you. Thank you for coming back. Man, if we could get this webinar done, that would be great. That would be great to have that.
I would love to. Just literally just give me what your pub date is, and then I'll say, okay, here's the right link. And
all right.
They can. I try to do them once a month. So
we'll get it done here soon.
I figure.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, tuning in, watching. Appreciate you. That's all for today. If you want more information, you can check us out at centerforvictory.com. And just remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.